Okay, so there's a water pump pulley, there's a crank pulley. This one looks pretty good. Now I had seen there was a console here. Garfield. Welcome back to the channel. As Fox body Mustangs have become increasingly costly, it's become harder and harder to get one for a good price. So one of the strategies you might be tempted to use is to take over somebody's project. You can typically buy a disassembled project car for a much better deal than one that's running. So that's the case with this project here. We call this project bad decision. I don't know if it was a good idea or not, but the car is a roller. There's a whole bunch of parts, and I'm going to show you the unpack of the project. We're going to go through all the parts, see what's here, and over the course of the winter, we'll see if we can turn this no driveline parts bill project that I've taken over into an actual Mustang. When you take over a project like this, it's in a million pieces. The first thing you got to do is get it somewhere where you can start unpacking it and looking it over. I'm going to give you guys a first look, and it's also going to be my first look. So you can think of this as sort of a reaction video to what I've bought. So first things first, there's a rolling chassis. It's got a 5-lug conversion. It's got some not bad looking wheels on it. There's no motor or transmission inside, and I can tell you, I did have a little look at this, and you got stuff like poster boy wiring harness problems on Fox bodies here. There's a terrible splice, there's a terrible splice, and somebody who took this wiring harness out went to the trouble of labeling it question mark. That's one of my favorite parts of the car. It does have urethane motor mounts in there, so that's good. There is a sway bar, charcoal canister, and so on, and looks solid in here. And I can tell you what I could see underneath, which was, there's a limit to what I could see underneath. The torque boxes look pretty good too. Okay, so if we come around, car's red. That's a plus for me. I like a red Mustang. It's, I think, a pretty solid little roller. It does have externally a couple things that are fairly normal that you don't like. There's some rust through on these trunk drop-offs. There's rust in the hatch lip and so on. But it does have a rear disc brake conversion along with the 5-lug, so that's good. Doors seem like they mostly work. This door is a replacement. It's got a different number on it than the rest of the car. It did have some seats in it, but the guys who I bought the car from were in love with the seats, so I let them keep those seats. I kept the tracks, and I'm going to try and come up with another set of seats for it. Now, inside is a real treasure trove of God knows what. It is a stick car, or is now, so that part's good. There's no stereo or anything, but there is some stereo wiring in here. That's probably all a nightmare. I don't know where the console is. Maybe it's here. There's a door handle. The door panel's in on that side. There is a PCM. I haven't even looked at the PCM, but I did note that somebody went ahead and labeled all the pinout on that PCM, which suggests there's a possibility it might have had a MAF conversion. So we'll see when we get into that. One thing I did think was interesting, there's an owner's manual for it in the glove box. Let me put that the right way up as if I could read. 88 Mustang owner's manual. So I don't know. And some handy lint brushes too, in case my greasy jean jacket gets some lint on it. There's a bunch of parts in there. Okay, so now on to the loose parts. Look what we got here. That's an Explorer intake manifold. It's a takeoff. Actually looks like it's pretty serviceable, and there's a set of 19-pound injectors on it. So that's a good find. These are not the greatest manifold in the world, but they're an upgrade. and they're increasingly hard to come up with. One of the nice parts that was in this pile is a set of trick flow heads. So they look pretty good. I saw them on the bench loose. I was able to get a decent look at them, and I think that's one of the prizes out of this whole menagerie of stuff. There's a short block here. Who knows what the state of this short block really is? There's a piston to valve contact mark on every one of these pistons. Now, by the look of things, I would say these pistons are probably serviceable. Why did it have a PV contact? Who knows? What's the state of this motor? Who knows? There is some lifters and a dog bone, crank, pistons, rods, all that good stuff in there. I turned it a little bit. It's not actually seized. And there's some kind of an aftermarket cam in there. Maybe it's a terrible cam choice, and that's why they had a PV contact. And there's a pan. Doesn't have the rails on the pan. Maybe they're in a pile of junk here. Who knows? Then over here, we've got what's supposed to be a fully serviceable drivetrain. So this is a some year or other 50 HO out of some Mustang. Nobody knows for sure how many miles are on it, but I was told it was in the 250K range, which, honest to God, it could still be a perfectly good motor if it is in that range. There's a T5, no shifter in evidence on the T5, but it's supposed to be okay. There's a bell housing with a clutch. There's an oil pan, headers, accessories, throttle body, a production intake manifold, has production heads, all that jazz. That's supposed to be a drop in and go serviceable motor. There's an exhaust system, Flowmaster 40s I think they are, with a muffler shop, non-mandrel tailpipe setup. And there's a mid-pipe. This is a mid-pipe that someone punched the catalytic converters out of, so it's not like there's a residual value in catalytic converters there if we don't use the mid-pipe. But there's enough here to hook an actual exhaust up. One thing that I think is missing out of this project is a drive shaft. There is, over here, a nice Griffin aluminum radiator. There's a whole pile of buckets of parts. So we're going to start unpacking these, and like I said, it's going to be like an unboxing. You guys are going to get a first look at it, same as me. Okay, so here's my strategy. I'm going to start unpacking these boxes and containers and sorting stuff out into piles of stuff that's for the project, that's for some other car that might be useful, and that's probably junk. So, and then when it's stuff that's for the project, I'm going to try to put like pieces together, like drivetrain parts in one place, interior parts in another, exterior parts in another. So let's start having a look. This is a box of stuff that's supposed to be good stuff. Look, a pulley set. Okay, so there's a water pump pulley, there's a crank pulley, thermostat housing, probably a new water pump. 65mm throttle, upper rad hose assembly, cloud clutch disc, rocker girdle, trick flow head bolts by the look of things. And there's a set of rocker arms in here. Trick flow rocker arms. There's a front cover. There's a water pump inlet elbow assembly here. 96 modular Mustang, probably. That's a can of, looks like drum brake components. Overflow bottle. There's a balancer. That part is almost certainly just junk. Idler pulley, transmission block plate, power steering pulley. Oh boy. There's a baggie, torn up baggie full of bolts. Now, here's a pro tip. You see this garbagey generic sandwich bag? This is the kind of stuff that happens when you use that as your baggie. That bag is garbage. It's too light. It was never, see that? I just tear it like that. It was never gonna hold parts successfully. So you've got to put stuff like this in a real Ziploc. There's a factory oil pump drive shaft. There's a throwout bearing. So that's a disc brake assembly out of something. T-bird possibly. A caliper, power steering pump. There's the other side of whatever brake setup this is. And there's a rotor with a tone ring. Those two parts probably go together. By the way, I'm not sponsored by SC Johnson, but I use these real Ziplocs because they're the thing that really works. So that stuff is at least semi-packaged. And when you got a project like this with a bunch of weird miscellaneous stuff in it, if you can at least identify some of the parts and separate those out, then it reduces the possibilities for the other stuff that could be in there. I think these might be the shoulder belts for the back seat. Fuse panel cover, that's a speaker. Great. A dress up HVAC control panel, a steering wheel surround, a fuel door off of a black Mustang. I don't know. This is some miscellaneous stereo wiring. There's the other side of these gray seat belts, either a hood or a trunk latch. That's door striker. This looks like it's like an ashtray out of the back of a console. Push rods. Possible automatic transmission outer shift boot, maybe. Weather strip. And then there's a wiring harness, eh? I'm gonna say, I think probably what this is miscellaneous, not actually for this car, harnesses, but sometimes there's connectors and pins and stuff you could take off of something like that that would be helpful. The most obvious thing is there's a brake booster, manual fuel pump, charcoal canister purge. That looks like a throttle cable. That's a package of buttons to fix somebody's clothes. I don't think that's too important to us. Airbag sensors, power door lock actuator, 3/4 heater hose. So there's a heater core. And look at this. See all that corrosion on there? I'm pretty sure that this heater core is done. This looks like an air box. There's parts of a distributor. More wiring harness. Hey, look at that. There's the fuel injection ground wire, and it is cut off. This looks like it may well be a harness that's actually for this car. Ooh, there looks like the steering wheel center for this car. Kick panels, some wiring odds and ends, gauge cluster, clutch fork. That's a throwout bearing out of something. All right, interior panels. That is for this car. Windshield washer bottle. Quadra shocks, maybe. There's a PCM bracket. This, I think, is the gasket for the heater core and AC. Seat tracks out of something. There's an airbag, an AC panel, shift boot, seat belts. That's a manual mirror. Look at that. You stripper guys need a mirror. Looks like I got two of them. Two mystery fuel pumps. I think these are Quadra shock mounts. E-brake handle. Let's put that over there. Door switches. Oh, this is fuel pump. I think this is an AC condenser core. A shoebox full of miscellaneous. That's cold air intake parts. That's the inspection cover for transmission, upper rad hose, cruise control, hood release, master cutoff switch. There's a vacuum line. Those are donuts for rear springs, fuse panel, exhaust hanger, a miscellaneous can of stuff. I think this is like just a whole miscellaneous interior parts thing there. What do you think's in here? Front cover, injectors, oil pump, pickup, other oil pump, balancer, other pickup. That's got most of these parts sort of roughly sorted out into stuff that's for the car, stuff that's miscellaneous for a Mustang, stuff that's not for this kind of project at all, stuff that's probably purely extraneous, and tried to group together stuff that belongs together, suspension parts in one pile, brakes in another pile, clutch, driveline in another pile, accessories and whatnot in another pile, interior stuff in another box, seat belts all together, and so on. It looks like a terrible mess, but it's a little bit more sorted through, and I have a little better idea in my head of where we're starting from and what we're missing. I still haven't unpacked the back of the car, and one of the things we're notably missing so far is a shifter. One of the things that I found that is kind of funny is a set of manual mirrors, which are for like police interceptor or a stripper Mustang. So that's an interesting find. I'm not going to be putting them on this car, but I would guess that those mirrors are valuable for someone who's trying to restore a stripper type car. We went through all the boxes the other day. Let's go through the back of this car and pull the parts out of that and see what's there. Battery box, airbag steering wheel, floor mats, cowl panel, one hatchback quarter window. This one looks pretty good. And another quarter window. This one is not very nice. Door trim, windshield, A-pillars, more window trim, outside trim panels beside the cowl on the lower windshield area, I think. Here's another one of those cup holders. They must have had several of these cars. Clutch cable. There's a headlight. Clear corner. This might be some kind of a trunk molding. That's a speedometer cable. There's a black console. And look at this. That's a whole pedal box. That's probably a good find. There's a shift handle and knob. Instrument cluster lower surround. Upper instrument cluster surrounds. That's a daytime running light module. Coolant overflow jug. It's a full set of chrome fender lip covers. You want rust on your car, put these on. Instrument cluster, speaker cover. Son of a gun, there is a shifter. Well, isn't that nice? Because I've been looking for this. That is an interior console part. Goes in under the radio. Fuel tank straps. Pretty sure that's a light switch. The windshield wipers are here. Wiper arms and some blades. There's a gas pedal. Presumably goes with the pedal box. That is a brake proportioning valve, I think. There's a coil. Battery cable, heater hose. The thing about this is, even trying to keep all this stuff together with the car that came with the car isn't that worthy of an objective, because a bunch of this stuff doesn't belong to the car, or it's doubles or triples. So there's another windshield wiper. This deal might be a strut brace, maybe? You think? Not 100% sure what this is for. I'm gonna have to look this up. Possible it's not for the car, or it's an aftermarket part probably. There's two more cowl panels. This is a piece of frame rail off of some car. And let's get a look in here. There's a radio. factory deck, tape deck for you guys who are trying to do a restoration. There's 2 PCMs here. A DA1, that's a speed density manual transmission. A VR1. There's a neat little box here of who knows what. These are all little interior pieces, it seems like. A baby shoe, an EGR valve. There's a 50HO plate for an intake manifold. 88 Mustang Climate Operating Guide. That's interesting. This looks like strut setup information. It's wrote on the back of a tax form. Ford electronic sound system. Flyer. Maintenance schedule and log. Never maintained. I mean, I stand corrected. What did I say? These cars never have this kind of stuff, right? Never. Look at this car. It's not even a car. It's just a roller with a million parts in it. And it's got this stuff. Unreal. Okay, then there's some buckets here. That's a map sensor. Piece of garbage. I think these are like little seat things. Headlight switch. That's a little slug that goes in the inner fender. Somebody's stereo. That's 2 headlight switches. Hazard switch. These are the guts of distributors. A can of fasteners. So this is its own project probably to go through and sort all that out. That's a lower windshield trim. And these are interior trim if I'm not mistaken. Instrument clusters. Let's see what we got here. 4-cylinder cluster. This one's got the warning light display here. It's older. I guess that's the trunk. So there is some stuff in the back seat area. Let's get a look in there and see what we can find in there. I know it kind of seems like we're just making a mess, but sorting through what you have is essential to trying to figure out how you're going to approach putting the car back together. Let's see what's in the back seat. A piece of foam that somebody's been cutting up for an unknown reason. Heater controls. A red floor mat. Now I had seen there was a console here. Well, I don't know. I was going to say that was repainted, but actually it looks like it's glitter on there. I swear. When I caught the car, the guys who had the car were in love with the seats, so I took the seats out and gave them back. But the passenger seat was like covered in glitter. Who knows who the last person that sat in the passenger seat was? But what kind of people are covered in glitter? Dear. Okay, there's a center console. It's got a power window switch. And what a shock. The ashtray door is broken. Black kick panel ×2. Heated seat cover. This, I'm pretty sure, is a strut tower brace. Red floor mats. These are actually really nice red floor mats. If I understand right, this car had a red interior, and these guys I got the car from had switched the interior. A door handle thing that straps over the back of your seat. Hang on, there's some stuff in here. Let's see what we got. Ooh, some CDs. Every one of these a bootleg. Could I have this dance? I'm going to hire a wino. Dear, oh dear. Oh, there's a best of Deep Purple. That might be all right. Welcome to the 1990s. I guess this is a solution to the no storage space in the Mustang. Something that would have gone on the back of the seat and would have probably been on the back of the passenger seat, and then the guy could reach around and get CDs. A-pillar cluster. This piece of cardboard has been used to hold screws, and some of them are even labeled. Kick panel to dash, center console to dash. That's an interesting way to do it. I mean, I normally Ziploc this stuff. Whoever did this decided that sticking them in a piece of cardboard and writing on there was a good idea. And maybe it is. One of the famous door pockets. a bed sheet. That is a sill plate. Cluster, stereo wiring. That's like an 87 cluster. You can see the warning lights there. Some chromey interior door handles, dead pedal, horn button, Garfield, cans of hardware. And there's a Chilton repair manual for 79 to 88 Mustang and Capri. That might be helpful because I bet most of the paperwork I have is 89 up. That's this car essentially unpacked. All right, now we sorted through everything that came with the car. We've got it separated out into piles. Stuff that's junk is thrown into a junk pile. Stuff that's not for the car is thrown into its own separate, not for this car pile. And we've sorted things out into this is interior trim and exterior trim and driveline parts and engine parts and brake parts and so on. What we're going to do is box all this stuff up so that it's together, then get it out of the way so we can continue with some of our other projects, and then we're in a better position to go ahead and start working on this project when we're actually ready to start working on it. I will say, after looking through everything, I think there really is a car here. I think about the only thing that's missing is the drive shaft. It's more than I thought. I thought we were going to be missing a shifter. In fact, I was planning to make some calls today, see if I could come up with a shifter, but it's there. So, and on top of that, not only looks like everything's here, it looks like I have some extras of a few things. So if something's no good, there's an extra, or there's an extra for another project like the fridge, for instance. Okay, well, thanks for watching.